What's up, you guys? It's 2Bricks, and today I thought I'd bring you a slightly different format of video for my micro fleet series. Today I'm going to be kind of beginning the design process of a fairly large ship, the Arquitens-Class cruiser. This is a ship that is essentially a Star Destroyer mixed in with a Consular-class cruiser, which is one of these right here with the 3 engines in the back, and it has the kind of 45-degree angle wing that comes off and kind of connects the 3 engines together. So it's sort of like a mix between, it's sort of the in-between stage of something bigger than a Corvus, a little bit bigger than, I think it's 8 studs longer than my Nebulon B frigate. So it's just kind of a nice, meaty but not untackleable size of ship for me to do. And I just thought, since you guys are always asking me about, kind of the process of how I design mocks and stuff like that, that I would just show you as I build it and just kind of give you a sense of what I do to make my ships. So just, I gave you a little bit of scale comparison here. Just for the bare bones structure of what I've begun, all I did is I just measured out the size in meters of the ship, which is 325, and then I divided it by 3, which is how I arrive at the stud length of my ships. So all of these, I take the official length in meters divided by 3, and that's how many studs long it is. So based on that, I just created this simple marker here that just is 108. It's actually 108.3, so I have a little one of those plates with the little kind of rail extension to remind me that it's a little bit over. And then I just kind of mark that out, and then I look at the designs and the plans and blueprints that I can find online for the ship, and I try to get a sense of roughly where the major kind of landmarks are in the design. And so what I've done is I've just roughed out where the kind of front wedge triangle will come in, and then there'll be like an airlock right here. This is the halfway point of the whole thing. And then the 45-degree angle wings will come in, then come out again, and then they have the 3 big engines back here, 1, 2, 3. And then this represents the back, backmost part of the ship. And I've just roughly estimated the widths just by eye. There isn't any reliable scale information for the width, just the length. And I could go in and I could take the blueprints, put them into a CG program like Maya, where I could measure the, I could take a measuring tool and just see based off of the length what the width is, et cetera, et cetera. But for these, I think a lot of the design is dictated by the kind of angles of plates that I'm going to be using. So I know which wedge plates I'm going to use to achieve which part of the ship design. So those will kind of dictate the width as I go. And so there's really no point in me spending a lot of time trying to figure all that out, because in the end, it'll probably end up getting tweaked a little bit as well. Oh, and one final thing to mention before we get into kind of looking at what I'm going to be designing. There is a little kind of fighter bay at the front here of the ship, where canonically it can hold, I think, 3 TIE fighters. My design will not be able to do that because my TIE fighters are grotesquely oversized, just by virtue of not really having good pieces to represent the kind of shape that TIE fighter wings have at the scale that I want. And so for now, I'm kind of limited by that. So one day I'll probably end up making a smaller TIE fighter design. I'm sure that LEGO will eventually come out with a piece that will be perfect for the wings of exactly what I want to achieve for my TIE fighters, and then I'll be able to tuck them into the front little fighter bay, and I'll probably end up making that functional. I think that I'll probably have it be open and accessible for now, and then we'll just see what we can fit in there when we're done. So yeah, without further rambling, let's just take a look at what we're going to be making. And just before I get started laying down the pieces, I have my trusty brick separators right here, the most important tool in any builder's kit. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit better of an overview of the scale of this thing compared to the Nebulon B. This will be my new second biggest ship, which is exciting. It's just a little bit shorter than the dropship is wide, so that gives you another kind of reference point. And I just wanted to put it up next to the Corvus here because it's kind of a similar, Star Destroyer-ish type of a design, and then basically just giving you a sense of the scale of this compared to, how large and wide this is probably going to end up being. So yeah, just wanted to give you guys a look at that, and let's get going. Alright, so here is my building space, and I'm just going to get going and just start laying out some plates. So I decided I'm going to predominantly use these guys for the main kind of front wedge section. I just want to kind of lay out some, just to get a sense of roughly what the size will be for this front section, and I'm going to determine how wide I want this this section up here to be, just based off of kind of feel. Once I get all these laid out, I'll get a better sense of that. So just take a look. I want to try to use a lot of my older parts and a lot of my like gray weathered parts like this, and some of the ones that are maybe a little bit less common. So I just got this grab bag of different wedge plates that I might find useful. There's these older style ones with the cutouts in them that I almost never use, so maybe this will be a good opportunity to get some of those going in there. Let's see here. So that's good on that side. Get some of these going in here. And I'll just start clipping these together as I go, because if I do that, then I can just move everything around a little more easily. All right. And what I'm figuring is I'm probably going to have an almost flat area of this triangle in here will be almost flat, and then there'll be there's a central section here that's kind of a little bit more raised that will have more of the slopes to it. As far as I can tell in the design, that seems to be how it goes. So yeah, but we'll see. Like a lot of these things, I tend to just lay things out and then just sort of figure it out on the fly, because I feel like it just, I don't know, it's more fun that way. I like just experimenting with the parts and seeing what I can get. So yeah, I guess this would come up to, wow, almost exactly what I estimated. I did not plan that. You know, maybe somewhere like that, possibly. Yeah, we'll have to see. All right, let me get these clipped in on this side. All right, so I got all those plugged in. So let's start figuring out the rough dimensions of this part. So I want this to cut in roughly into this part right here, and I know that it's pretty much a 45-degree angle, so I'm going to just rely on my 45-degree angle plates and see where it lands. Let's see, I'm gonna clip these in as I go. So get that guy in there, this guy here, and then honestly that might end up being roughly where it lands actually. Let's see, a couple more of these going in this direction. Depending on the version, there's some where this point comes together completely like this into just a single point, and there's others where there's a little bit of a gap. I think I'm partial to the one with a little bit of a flat section like that in between, so for now I'm just going to leave that as that is. Just lay these out. Let's see. Got some larger ones. Where'd those go? Oh yeah. I'm going to try to rely on one of these as well. Just anything I can do to, you know, fill in the space more quickly. Just start laying those out on that side. And as you guys know, for my Star Wars mocks, I really don't mind if the pieces are gray and weathered, or like, you know, the old gray or the new gray. That's just kind of part of the charm of Star Wars to me, the whole Star Wars universe. Everything's a little bit dirty, a little bit beat up, and so I can get away with using old, messed up looking parts, which saves me money, so I like that. All right, let's see. So something about in there. Yeah, it's feeling pretty good, I think. And then, let's see. So I got some square plates here, just roughly what I think the dimensions of the engines will be. So something, let's clip these together. Something in roughly this range. So they would come in, let's see, somewhere around here maybe. So once I'm kind of done laying out, or I have a sense of what this is going to be, I'll go in and start figuring out what the Technic frame is going to be. But you know, I like to just kind of get a good sense of things before I dive in, because even though I am, like I said, kind of doing it on the fly, it is still nice to have a little bit more of a sense, just so I don't have to keep taking things apart and putting them back together again, because, you know, that is a pain. Let's see. Let me get more of those. I know I have one. I don't know if you guys feel the same way too, but it feels like Lego building is, or Lego designing is like 89% looking for the parts you need and 20% actual building. Wait, that's more than 100%. You guys know what I mean. It's like, I feel like I spend most of my life just sifting through bins, making this noise. So yeah, I think the way that this is feeling, I like roughly the point where this is connecting in here. Feels pretty good. These engines are going to be they're probably going to be built up with slopes to get a rough approximation of a cylinder. I'm not entirely sure yet. Yeah, and then I think I just slightly overestimated how big the back section here will need to be. Maybe, let's see, if I move these over one stud, line that up. It feels about right. So I just want the engines here to come out slightly wider than the widest point of the triangle, and then keeping in mind there'll probably be a little bit of extra detail down here for the docking hatch thing. So yeah, getting that, well, maybe even further actually. Something about like that. Or maybe I want to move this whole assembly out a little bit and then add a little bit of extra. Maybe I'll try that. Let's see. So just bringing this in a little closer, like so. Wait, what am I doing? Yeah. Thought I was going crazy for a second there. So yeah, bring that in a little bit closer so I can extend this wing out a little bit farther and have the engines sit roughly where they need to. And I think it feels to me like this midsection of the wing wants to come roughly into the middle of the engines, but again, I don't have a picture in front of me, so I have to take a look at that in a little bit. See, the good thing about having a guide that I sort of rough out with just this structure is that I don't need to continue to look at the reference constantly. At least at these early stages, I can just kind of rough things in and not worry too much. But that's feeling pretty good. So let me go ahead and start to finish or flesh out some of the other points of the landmarks. So I want to figure out exactly how big I want this bay to be, and then how much thickness I want to give to the overall fuselage. I'm going to take a look at some reference. I'll be right back. All right, so here is the kind of progress that I made so far. I just connected everything together so that I, just super roughly, so I can move it all around as one piece. But what I'm realizing now is that I want when I was looking at the designs again, I want the front kind of cutout section to be a lot narrower, and I want the front mandibles to come to a much finer point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these and replace the front there, and then in order to maintain the length, I'm just going to adjust what I'm doing at the back, and I'll just kind of reconfigure these, like move this whole thing down a little bit and in a little bit, and then end with a nice fine point. So let me just do that, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. All right, so I've just made some tweaks here where I've basically, I did what I said there. I made the front mandibles come to a more fine point, and then I ended up just reducing, taking off one of these plates, moving the whole thing in, squeezing it in just a little bit, and then it comes to a nice fine point at the front, and then it meets up here at the side and the back, and I just tweaked a little bit of the positions of these plates in general to make it all work. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with where it's all sitting right now, just as a rough start. And then I'm also going to just take some of these, and I'm just going to basically indicate to myself that I want to extend out or bring in the inside of this just a little bit, just so I don't forget. And then basically, that is what the kind of outline is going to look like. And then in universe, the ship can do this cool thing where the Lambda class can come into the front here and dock, and the wings actually fold underneath it. And so I just wanted to make sure that I had enough space in there to be able to do that. And obviously you can see that that does work. And I think it's a really fun little feature of the kind of in-universe ship. And if I can, maintain that and make that work for this design, I absolutely will do that. So obviously, once I'm done and I have the Technic frame all laid out, I'm going to have to figure out, all the final kind of way that this is all going to get smoothed out, because I don't want to have a bunch of, I want it to be fairly flat and fairly smooth on the top surface. So I'm going to just kind of finesse the way that those are all connected. And then I'm going to split the whole thing in two. So, there'll kind of be a slight angle to each of these sides where they dip in a little bit. And then I'm going to have to figure out exactly how I'm going to get the kind of center strip of the greebling. That'll probably, be part of the Technic frame that's connected. Start figuring out the dimensions of the interior of this hangar. And then I'm going to have to also replicate two of these, one for the top, one for the bottom, of this whole kind of shell design. And then I'm going to figure out what this kind of superstructure that I was mentioning, what that kind of looks like as well. So those are some next steps, lots to be getting along with. So yeah, I'm just going to get in and see what I can get done. All right, so as I'm starting to think about the inner kind of core structure that's going to hold all of this together, I'm looking at these old boat hull pieces that I have from the Black Pearl set that I got a couple years back. And I was thinking about maybe just stitching these together and making a sort of starting point for the inner frame, because I have so many of these older pieces that are just really large and bulky and super specialized that I don't really often get to use them for anything. So I just figured maybe that might be something that kind of give me a good strong kind of core and something to build off of, and perhaps maybe not have to use a ton of my Technic, just regular beams and pins and things. So I'm just going to pin these together and sort of see if I can attach some kind of structure to it. So these things have these Technic pin holes all the way down, so I'm just using two on either side there, right the way down. So there's two there. And I'm just going to pin in the end part. And hey, look at that, we're starting to build a pirate ship. Except that's not exactly what we want, but hey, it's a good start. So yeah, let me see what other things I can attach to this to give it a little bit of a through line of the spine here, because I want the center core of this to be really, really strong. I'm just attaching 2x4s along the center spine of this, just at the attachment points, because for right now I don't want to commit too much to like a full Technic structure. But then I'm going to extend this this beam structure back here. So essentially the idea being that the main central part of the hulls on the top and bottom, because there's going to be plate section on the top angled in on the bottom, and then a spine running through the middle. And I don't want to commit to too much internal structure in here right now until I know exactly how thick I want this to be, and et cetera, et cetera. So, but I know for sure that I'm going to be extending this frame all the way back to support the back wing section of the engines. So I want to just start kind of laying in what that's going to be right here. And then what I'm probably going to do, the way that this is set up is that it's designed to be 2 bricks thick, so you have like, this is a brick and then this is a brick, and that kind of steps up 1 brick high. What I'm going to do under here is I'm going to add 2 plates of thickness underneath of this, and then another layer of Technic beams, so that I can then have sideways pinned structures through here, which will give it that like cross beam support. Because this is going to be right at the kind of center section of the center of gravity of the ship, so I really want this part to be extra sturdy. So I think that that's going to work out, so we'll see in a little bit. All right, so I'm making some progress here on just kind of solidifying this central base. I'm obviously just adding over some plates to cover the gaps, the parts where these plates meet, so that kind of strengthens up the whole thing. You can already really feel it starting to get much more sturdy. And then I've gone ahead and added those 2 sections of the beams in here that I was talking about, with the 2 plates in the middle. And then on the bottom here, I just went and brought up the just added some supporter bricks in here, and then just added a single layer of plates just to bring this all to be level, so that I have a flat surface on the bottom. Just extended that all the way down. And then for this part of the design, there's no anti-studs in the middle. There's only anti-studs on the outer edges. So what I'm going to do is just I'm just going to bring a structure out from under here where you can connect things in, that just brings this forward a little bit, just so I can have kind of a a little bit more of a connection point up here for some, there's this kind of central detail where the spine comes to an end, and then there's these little bay doors that launch the jet troopers out of the front section here. So I'm just gonna, just give myself something to work with to attach to that up at the front. So let's do that. All right, so this is some little bit of more progress on this design where I've just gone ahead and finished out the red plates there on the top. Like I said, I went ahead and did the front section to just kind of bring that all in line and give me a little bit of structure up at the front here to work with. I didn't put any Technic pins in between these beams because I want to leave all of these holes open for potential connections. So, you know, not knowing exactly where I might want to place pins on this structure, but all of it lines up so that, you know, all the way down I have the ability to add more Technic beams under here, pin them together. And I just realized, you know, some of you guys who are less familiar with, you know, certain specific techniques, you might not know what I'm talking about. So I just placed a couple of Technic pins in here, and then you can see that, you know, when I place the beams in there, that lines up perfectly. So it enables me to change directions, and it enables me to use specific, like there are actually pieces that are just like exactly that shape where you can just pin beams together like that, and it gives you a really, really strong sandwiched kind of structure in there. So that's something that I always try to stick to as my standard for, like, anytime that I'm building a, oh, that's my dog. So anytime that I build Technic structures like this, I try to kind of stick to that system, because I end up invariably wanting to be able to build in different directions as well. So yeah, that's just something that I do. So now if we put this in place, I can kind of picture in my head roughly where I want all of this to go in relation to everything else. So I think this will give me a nice start for the foundations of building this model. So let me try to figure out what I want to do next. Oh, and big announcement, ta-da! I've actually changed the ship that I'm building. This is no longer going to be the Arquitens class cruiser. Is going to be the Imperial version, where the only real main difference is that it's all gray, and then the back engines have like these kind of wing flap type details where instead of just 3 singular engines, they're kind of connected with this slope up and down on the back. But the reason that I wanted to do that is because when I eventually end up making the Venator-class Star Destroyer, that's going to be a Republic vehicle. And so if I have the Arquitens, which is also a Republic vehicle, then it's going to really throw some imbalance into my Imperial stuff. And the only other thing that I have that's Imperial right now is the, what do you call it? The Corvus. And that only stays Imperial for like 10% of the game. So I'm going to go ahead and make this one an Imperial one. So this will be like the Rebels era version that we see. So yeah, let's keep going. All right, so I figure that since this is where roughly my kind of the central spine going this way, the airlock spine goes, I'm going to go ahead and add this little structure in here to just begin to figure out how to kind of have that basically come off of this part of the main central hull. So it's really just, you know, a blue 2x4 and a red plate on either side, just to give me a starting point to figure out how I'm going to attach the pieces that are coming off of this, because obviously the underside of this boat hull is a smooth thing that isn't really ideal for building off of. So I think what I'm probably going to do is start out with some of these beams, which I will pin together coming off this way, and then I'll just get the same length of ones first. But yeah, just have these coming off of the center here like this, and then I'll just figure out how to build up on the bottom here to just line it up with that, and then just see exactly how long I want to have it, because usually what I end up doing is I end up making the Technic structure a little bit too big, and then I wind up having to go back in and shorten it. So I want to make sure that I don't come too far out and just start to interfere with what the final look of this is going to be. So I'll probably bring it out to like about here maybe, and then do that on either side, and then bulk up those undersections there, and then we'll see what that looks like. I'm sorry that I'm not really building in real time, but the build space that I have is really limited, and it's like not that easy for me to just pull out parts and narrate to you while I'm talking. So maybe later when I move to a different section, that'll be easier to do, but just for now, I'm just going to keep giving you little updates as I go. All right, so I got the one side done, and I'm just going to go ahead and replicate it, what I did on the other side. So I just have just this 1x1, or sorry, 1x2 brick in here, and then 1x4. And I just wound up putting a couple of 2x3s that just kind of help to fill in the gap between this section and the hole right here. It just, you know, gives me a couple of extra studs. Let's see if I have another one of those. I'm trying out a different camera angle so we can get more of a real-time experience on it, which is kind of what I was initially hoping for. Let's see. Man, of course now he's going to watch me look for parts. There we go. So yeah, there is my second 2x3, and then I just plugged in a 2x8 that just brings the whole thing together, just connects it into the middle here. And you can see obviously color does not matter to me one bit at the moment, and that's because, you know, none of this will ever be seen, and I just have whatever I have on hand is what I have, so may as well use what's plentiful. So yeah, with these I decided to make it 4 wide because it just felt like looking at this part of the design it would just be more helpful instead of having only 2 studs to work with, just to give myself a little bit of extra room, because, you know, I could very easily just tile over this whole section and have a really broad area that's hollow. It gives me a lot more space to work with. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with this, but yeah, for now I think that works really well. So this is pretty much roughly where it's going to end up sitting, and I think that works pretty well. So let's go ahead and start figuring out roughly what the kind of side greebly parts that go in between the plates is going to look like, and then I'll start to get a sense of where I can place these guys. So let me start off. I'm going to get some hinge plates. All right, so I gathered up some of these little 2x hinge plates, and I'm going to just start experimenting with how I want the frame coming off of this way to be. I'm probably not going to end up using like any of the actual surface like that we're going to build up right now to actually be facing out from the model, so this is still kind of technically internal structure to me, but I'm going to be a little bit more careful about not having as many bright colors. The closer I get to the edge of the model, basically, the less bright colors I want to see. So that's just a, you know, it's a way of saving myself any potential headache on down the line if in case I run into anything where I'm like, ah, that's going to show through, you know. And it's just a pain to have to go back and change it. So just experimenting here with a couple of different lengths of beams where I'm thinking I want them to kind of come in, and just kind of going to be thinking on the fly as far as where they're going to end up sitting in the actual model. Bring this in line here a little bit, so something like this, just so I can be sure of where I'm placing these, you know. And then for the time being, I'm just going to go ahead and attach them really simply. I brought out a box of gray plates. I'm just going to end up attaching them with just really simple, just 1x4 plates in here. Or actually, maybe I better go with 1x6. Just give it a little bit more temporary strength. Because, you know, sometimes something will just work out and I'll just want to leave it. And then if I didn't build it strong enough the first time, then I have to go back and refigure it out. So it's just a pain in the butt. Let's see, what else do I have here? Another 1x6. And then I think I want to try to continue this all the way down to the tip, or at least as close as I can kind of get it. And I want to try to match the angle of this edge with this as much as possible. That will kind of save me a little bit of headache later of trying to line everything up. That's always a big pain in the butt when you're trying to do Star Destroyer type designs, is getting them to just be lined up. Yeah, where basically I'm, you know, because you're building straightways with this and then you're building off axis with this one, so you want those to be as seamless as possible. So let's see. But who knows, maybe I might end up actually changing the way that I'm doing this design, and I might have this be the inside edge of the spine, and then have the flat part, you know, outside here line up with this so that it's on axis in that direction. I don't know, we'll see. I'll end up figuring that out as I go. But you guys will probably see as I'm going through this process a bunch of rethinks, total like teardowns and redesigns of areas. So if you're thinking about like building along, it's probably not a good idea until you've seen a little bit further and see if I actually keep any of this, because chances are a lot of it will just end up getting completely scrapped. So, but yeah, so I'm starting to just kind of get to the upper limit of where I want to go with this, and then I'm going to start thinking about cutting it back in now towards the main hull of the ship. So I'll get another one of my hinge plates here and place a beam on the end of that, and then how do I want to do that? I don't know. Let's see. Let me grab a couple of long plates in here and see if that will actually attach back into the hull in any way, shape, or form. If I was to, just trying to think about, if I brought this in here, would that work? No. Just trying to see if any of these angles will naturally line up for me. Maybe this one? Maybe if I brought this out, this might work. Let me see. It doesn't feel like it's stressing anything. Let me just lift this up and I'll get a look at it. That feels like it connects in there pretty naturally. Yeah, I think that might just be the correct angle. So let's see, if I bring this plate in here and I check against that, that seems to be parallel. So that tells me that I'm roughly in the right ballpark with this. Let me just try that again. So if I place this all the way at the tip, this is what I get. So it's a little bit off. You can see the angle isn't quite exactly lining up. So the further that I build with this plate, the more off that angle will be. So if I add one more of these, let's see, right here, you'll already start to see that it's beginning to get closer and closer to the edge of that. So this angle is just a little bit off. So what I think I want to do to correct that is I want to try to bring out this side maybe one more stud. Let me try that. Just pull this off. And then I'll just, while I'm here, I'll add in a 1x1. I'll add in a 1x1 to fill in this gap just so that I don't forget and leave a gap in there. But you know, I want everything to connect nice and smooth. So let's see, if I look at that now, how does that look? Now it's off in the other direction. So now instead of coming together, or now it's getting further away. Excuse me. So that's not exactly what I want. Maybe I can bring, is this possible if I can bring this in one more stud? No, that doesn't work. Oh, that wants to be right there. All right, well, let me continue to experiment with this. Maybe there's like a half stud offset that I can figure out or something. But I really do want to try to match this angle because, like I said, that is going to be a huge headache down the line. Let me do some tinkering and I'll be right back. All right, you guys, so I have made some progress and I decided to stop before I get too far and show you where I'm at. So I was able to figure out that there really wasn't a good way for me to line these parts up and have them click into place exactly and have it be, you know, the exact angle that I want. So what I wound up doing is I just got it to basically match up with the angle that I wanted for the you know, for these side wings. And then I just used clips and a bar right up here to just clip these in where I know that they're, you know, sitting at the right width or, you know, the right kind of distance apart from each other. And I did that by just measuring because I know that I want these to be eight studs apart. So I just placed plates on here to make sure that it stayed 8 plates apart. And then I just clipped it in using these clips to the main structure here. And then I used a tile under here to just slip it in underneath these plates. And so you can see here there's a little bit of a gap where that's just the kind of tolerance where if I was to try to force it, it would be stressing the parts and, you know, the design would become an illegal technique. So I think what I'm going to do now is just shore up underneath here. I'm going to attach some plates to this part with some tiles underneath here and just kind of create a shelf to support this so that this whole structure isn't just being held in by these clips, it's also being supported from the bottom and kind of tucked into the main structure as well. So yeah, that's how that's going. And then on the back here, I just roughed in, I just put these here for just placement, just to get the make sure that these are sitting at the 45-degree angle that I want, so that it all lines up with the plates that I'm going to be using. And that's just super rough placement for now. Yeah, and then I'm going to just continue fleshing out the structure here and making sure that this is relatively sturdy, because a lot of the weight, I mean, the main weight of the whole hull armor is going to be sitting on here and, you know, supported in the middle. But these parts, I don't want them to buckle underneath the weight as well. So I'm going to have to make sure that that's nice and secure. So let me just mess around some more. This part is really technical and requires a lot of just like, not even really technical, just like a lot of trial and error. And so I'm just taking things apart a lot, putting them back together, and it's kind of boring. So I'll just show you guys once I've cracked it where it's at. Right, so I've just gone ahead and built this structure right here, which has the plates that I need, and then fills in the gaps on the inside of this portion in here. It's kind of hard to see, but essentially I just plug this right in here, and then the studs connect into the main base, and then the tiles just sit underneath here and are just supporting this and keeping it pinched into place. So now this is all nice and really strong with the connection of both the studs, the support of the plates, and also the connection of the bars and the clips. So I'm really happy with that, and I think I can move on to the next section. Okay, so here's an important little stage that I'm at now. I'm pretty happy with the way that this is all going, and some of these parts have been, you know, falling off while I've been working on it and stuff, and I want to start to really strengthen it up. So what I've done is I've added these bracket pieces on the top and bottom of these sections in here that are kind of pinched around. Sorry, it's hard to see there. The parts that are kind of pinched around this main boat hull structure, and then what I'm going to do is just place some plates across those, and that is going to lock this whole structure in. You know, previously it was only relying on the strength of the plates on the bottom and the top just holding it in place, and now we have this secondary structure which makes it super duper strong, and I've gone ahead and replicated that here up at the front. So these parts that are kind of the weak links in the chain are, you know, super sturdy now, and this structure will start to become, I'm going to apply them here, and you know, do the same on the other side. The structure will start to become really, really strong, and I'll be able to move it around without fear of things snapping off like they are right now. All right, so I think this is a pretty good spot to call it for today. I've gone ahead and secured all of the different sides with the plate technique that I was doing, and then I actually also went ahead and just did the same exact technique with the brackets on the top and the bottom, and just capped it off with the indication of what will eventually become the airlock that sits in here. It actually sticks out quite a bit further than this, and whatever, but yeah, I just tried to keep it a little bit more tidy on this side with the gray plates, so that in case some of this ends up being visible from the exterior of the ship, which I still don't think that it really will, but even if it does, it'll be nicer to look at. And yeah, so I think definitely a good start. I didn't expect to get the frame this close to being done this early, so that's cool. And then you know, I didn't figure out a way yet to attach these in. These are just still hinged on this side. Each of the attachment points, like this was a pretty specialized solution. I think each of those attachment points will require their own sort of more specialized approach. But I'm really happy with the progress. Like I said, I took a look at a whole bunch of different iterations and design variations of this craft from all over the Star Wars universe, looking at a lot of different reference. So I'm going to probably tweak, I think I'm going to be tweaking the back section here a little bit, where I feel like the engines should be actually narrower than the widest part here with the airlock, and that's just based off some of the things that I've been seeing on different models that seem more screen accurate to me when I check them out. So yeah. Oh, and the other final thing to notice, I was totally incorrect. I was always under the impression that there was a hangar bay in here which released TIE fighters, and then when I looked more closely at it, I realized the TIE fighters are actually just mounted on the exterior of the ship like this, like in this kind of mandible notch. They sit with like clamps holding 3 TIE fighters in place. So I'll totally be able to do the shuttle or the TIE fighters, and you know, I won't have to modify anything with my current collection because those will fit perfectly well. So that's gonna be great. So yeah, really happy with the start of this. If this is a format that you guys are getting a kick out of, let me know, because I'm definitely enjoying doing it this way. You know, it's no fun for me to just lock myself away, finish a design, and then just show it to you guys when it's done. I always like to do a little bit of in-progress stuff. So if you guys are getting a kick out of this, please let me know down in the comments. And if you watched up until this point, thank you very much. And this I think is going to be really great practice for when I end up doing the Venator eventually, because it's a lot of the same kind of ideas and techniques could probably be scaled for that. And then that one's going to end up being I think 3 times the length of this. This is almost like 2 3/4 feet long. That one's going to be almost 10. So yeah, that's going to be a big challenge. But hey, if I get up to 100,000 subscribers, then I'll be really happy, and I won't be thinking so much about how terrifying that prospect is. So if you guys just help me get there, like and subscribe, obviously help me get to that goal, and we can start thinking about what I'm going to do for the Venator Star Destroyer. That thing is going to be a behemoth of a project. So yeah, tell all your friends, get them all over here, and get everybody subscribed so we can hit that goal. All right, guys. So yeah, I'm going to sign off for now. I'm going to try to make time this week to do another few building sessions. This video comprises a few different building sessions, so I like to try to make some decent progress before I end up showing you guys an update. So yeah, hopefully the next one will have a lot more substantive look at the the frame by the time we're done. Maybe even start planning out some of the finalized details of the exterior look. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you tune in for that. Thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to check out all of my other Microfleet series videos, where you can see the hundreds of other starships that I've made that are to scale with this. The reason that this is so big is because it is to scale with all of my other ships. So check those out. And finally, if you guys are interested in a Venator-class Star Destroyer that is like a playset scale, that is kind of this big, I've been toying with the idea of doing something like that for a while. If that's something you guys are interested in, let me know. Something where I would make instructions and kind of do some interior play features, things like that. Because I have seen a lot of people commenting, or a lot of people that have created really nice Venator models online. But then I also see a lot of people commenting saying, "Will you make one?" So I've always been a little bit hesitant to cover things that other people have done so well. But if that's something you guys are really interested in, I'm totally open to taking a look at it. Just let me know down in the comments. All right, you guys, so I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and may the force be with you.